Hi, everyone. My name is Christine Nemec. I'm the program manager for the Iowa Roadside Management Program here at the University of Northern Iowa Tallgrass Prairie Center. And today I'm going to give you an overview of what Iowa's county roadside and city programs are all about. Then you'll hear more detail from the county perspective a little bit later on. First of all, if you're learning anything about Iowa's roadside programs, you might hear the term integrated roadside vegetation management. So what does that mean? Basically, it's a cost-effective, environmentally sound management for roadsides. It consists of reduced mowing. So of course, roadside managers need to mow right by the pavement for safety reasons. But once you get further away from the pavement, that's not as necessary because there's those sight lines, the short vegetation by the pavement. And that helps save money on fuel for the county. It's a safety benefit because the roadside staff are spending less time on steep slopes, and there's less chance that the mower might kick out stuff into the roadway, such as rocks or other materials which could affect drivers. It also means planting native plants. As you can see in this diagram, smooth brome and Kentucky bluegrass have much shallower root systems compared to native grasses like big blue stem or side oats grama. So those really dense, deep root systems of the native plants are effective at holding the soil in place, at reducing erosion, which is important on steep roadside slopes. This is a cross section of some native plants. This is about 8 years after this prairie was seeded. So you can see even after just 8 years, those dense root systems are starting to develop, showing in real life, as opposed to that drawing, the tremendous benefits of those thick root systems. And of course, the root systems also improve water quality because they're able to absorb a lot of nutrients. Brush control is another aspect of roadside programs or integrated roadside vegetation management. So this is a before and after photo of some brush that was removed along the roadside. For safety reasons, it's important to keep a clear area near the road, free of any brush or trees in case a vehicle departs the road. Weed control. There's some weeds, noxious weeds, that the county and city are legally obligated to control. Other weeds might be a nuisance or they might form dense stands that outcompetes native plants, so it's important to get a handle on it. In an integrated approach to roadside management, these weeds are prioritized. So it's not blanket spraying large areas of the roadside with lots and lots of herbicide to get rid of everything. It's prioritizing just the worst weeds, spraying them with the right amount of chemical at the right time to reduce their impact on the neighbors and on the native plants in the roadside. And that takes a lot of knowledge. The roadside managers need to keep up on their technical knowledge of how to prioritize and control weeds the best. Prescribed burning is important. About half of the counties and maybe some of the cities do prescribed burns in their roadsides. This is an excellent way to prevent brush from taking over. And prairie plants are adapted to fire. They need that to keep the prairie plant community healthy and thriving. Periodic prescribed burning, maybe every 2, 3, 4 years or so, is healthy for prairie. Counties and cities that want to use this approach to roadside management can also access the Living Roadway Trust Fund that Iowa has. This is unique. No other state has a stable source of funding to help support this approach to roadside management at the local level. This shows how this fund is given its money. There's the road use tax fund, utility access fees, and REAP, or the Resource Enhancement and Protection Fund. REAP funds themselves come from license plate sales and also from gaming receipts. So about 3% of all REAP funds go toward roadside vegetation management. REAP is a very important source of funding for roadside programs. If counties or cities want to apply for LRTF funds, they need to have an IRVM plan on file with the Iowa DOT. Now, I've been talking about counties and cities, but applicants with statewide impact, those entities that do research on roadside vegetation, or they provide services to counties and cities that do this type of management, they can also apply for grants to help them in their support of the local entities. So what is an IRVM plan? It's basically a business plan or guidebook specific for a county or city. There's 61 counties that have a plan and 22 cities in Iowa that have a plan. These are typically on the Living Roadway Trust Fund's website. They're redoing their websites. They're not all up there, but you can reach out to the Living Roadway Trust Fund if you want to get a copy of your county or city's plan, or talk to your local officials if you're curious what your county or city's plan is like. There's currently 308,000 acres in Iowa that are managed under a plan. I should add county roadside acres that are managed under a plan. So about half of all the county roadside acres are managed using these integrated techniques. We don't have a good number on the amount of cities. Of course, that's a much smaller area we're talking about. But with 22 cities, there's probably a decent amount of acreage for those cities that are managed under a plan. If a county or city has a plan, I'm going to give you some examples of the types of materials they can apply for. One is specialized equipment. This can be hydro seeders, drills, broadcast seeders, equipment for doing prescribed burns, spraying. That's the type of equipment that the county needs to do these specific integrated types of techniques. That's a huge category that many counties and cities are interested in. There's electronic equipment that can be tablets, GPS equipment, GIS equipment for mapping, spraying records or planting records, capturing that field data. Those are the types of equipment that falls under electronic equipment. Walkie-talkies, that's important in the field. Grants for roadside inventories and remnant vegetation surveys, especially when a county or city is first getting involved. They often want to know the baseline conditions they're dealing with. If they get a grant for an inventory, they can hire a contractor to go out and record what plants are in the roadsides throughout the county. This is usually kind of a broad scale approach, a windshield survey, but it's information that allows the county or city to prioritize where to put their efforts. They know where the worst weeds are, the weeds that are become a problem if they're not contained right away. They know where the brush is. They can find out if they have any remnant prairie in their roadsides, which does happen. Some people just assume all the roadside vegetation is disturbed. There's not much diversity, but there are little pockets of prairie now and then. And that's what an inventory can reveal. And that allows the county to protect that remnant. Education projects. These grants go toward the annual roadside conference, invasive species conference, forestry mower field day, an outdoor learning environment conference. Those are examples of the types of education events that might be funded. Gateway projects, entryways, beautification. As people are entering a city, grants can be used to beautify city entryways. And other related projects. This can be seed coolers, herbicide storage, special protective gear. It's kind of a miscellaneous range of projects. And everything I presented is just some of the more common grants. There's other categories such as research that maybe universities will apply for. But these are what counties and cities tend to be the most interested in as far as the specialized equipment and education, gateway projects, those types of things. And then these specialized or other related projects. If there's a plan, the county or city can also apply to get free seed from my office. And this is funded through a Federal Highway Administration grant. has gone through many different names. It's currently called the Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Program. This is the value of the seed mix I can provide. For example, last year, the diversity mix with 47 species had a value of $308 an acre. The cleanout mix had a value of $192 an acre. That's just how much I paid for them through my grant. That's free to the counties or cities, but you can see that adds up. If someone gets 10 acres worth, they're driving away with at least $2,000, $3,000 worth of seed. That's a savings for the local governments. Every fall, I asked every county or city with the plan, how much seed do you need? And then I can fulfill that. Just some examples of typical species provided, some of the common warm season, tall prairie grasses, and kind of mid-sized prairie grasses, such as big blue stem, little blue stem, Indian grass, switchgrass. And we also include 1 to 3 sedges or grass-like plants that have a lot of benefits, especially in wetter areas. It's nice to have that for the lowest elevation of the roadside. We provide a nice variety of wildflowers that bloom all throughout the year. If you care about pollinators, you know how important it is that bees and butterflies have access to nectar and pollen all the way from early spring to late fall. So that's why our seed mixes include all of that. We don't include common milkweed since that is so common out in the roadsides. It spreads well on its own, but we do include seed for butterfly milkweed and swamp milkweed, as well as many flowers that adult monarchs need. So it's not just about milkweed for monarchs. That's what they need to reproduce. But as adults, they need many other sources, not just milkweed. And of course, other butterflies or bees are adapted to other plants. So that's why we try to include a nice variety of wildflowers in the seed mixes. What we do in Iowa has national importance. Iowa lies entirely within the breeding range of the monarch butterfly. And it's also within the spring migration route and the fall migration route. So the habitat we have here matters to monarchs as other parts of the country, but we're one of the few states that are entirely within the summer breeding range. And as some of you may know, monarch populations continue to not do so well. This shows the total area occupied by monarchs at overwintering sites in Mexico. The second lowest level ever recorded was last winter. So like a lot of insects, populations fluctuate a lot year to year, but it has been showing a downward trend the last several years. And sometime by December, the Fish and Wildlife Service will be deciding if the monarch will be listed as endangered. Something that's kind of neat is that National Geographic wrote an article about monarch butterfly conservation that included some mention of Iowa's roadside program. They mentioned the importance of getting native plants out in Iowa roadsides as one way to provide habitat for monarchs. That was nice recognition. They interviewed some of the county roadside managers, some of the Tallgrass Prairie Center staff. And I would also like to mention, anytime I mention bees and butterflies, people ask, well, aren't you just luring them to their deaths? They're going to get killed by cars. Yes, some of them do get killed by cars, but studies have shown that those deaths represent less than 10% of the local population. There's a net benefit to having habitat in the roadsides, and they tend to forage more on the roadsides. If there's habitat, they have less reason to cross the road in search of flowers. So overall, it's a good thing to have native plants anywhere, including even in the roadsides, which can also act as travel corridors. In conclusion, if you'd like to learn more about your particular county's roadside program, you can go to the Tallgrass Prairie Center website, which is tallgrassprairiecenter.org. The very first tab is roadsides. If you click on that, you can learn about the impact of the program. The second line down is your county roadside program. You can click on that. You can click on a map that'll take you, or a link that will take you to a map that shows you contact information for the roadside manager or engineer in your county. Feel free to explore the website if you want to learn anything about prairie, but roadside information is on the far left. Finally, if you would like to reach out, if you have any questions, If you want to learn more about the seed mixes we provide or how to start a program, I can direct you to the right person at the DOT to talk about getting a plan in place. We have a presence on social media. Facebook has the Iowa Roadsides tab, Instagram, YouTube. You're welcome to check out any of those resources as well, but you're always free to email me or call me if you have any questions related to the Roadside program. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the talks in this webinar.